Kitty, it's so nice to have you here at Asbury.
Thank you.
And for the sake of the folks watching this, I'm actually going to read your bio from the back of your book.
All right.
So I want them to see the cover and read it, because I know they're going to want to Amazon.com it and buy it, or go to their local bookstore, or
That'd be great.
Contact Wiley and get it.
That is great.
Kitty Harris is the director of the Center for the Study of Addiction and Recovery at Texas Tech University. Are you still the Associate Dean?
Actually, as of August 31st, I am not.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yes, as a former Associate Dean.
That's right.
My blessings on leaving that wonderful position of administration. And what is your current relationship with Ranch at Dove Tree?
I'm actually, by title, the executive director, but what I really do is just provide clinical oversight for the programming. It's not a day-to-day working relationship, but I oversee the clinical programming.
Is there anything else that should have been added to the back of this book that is more current with who you are and where you are?
Well, thanks for asking that. Probably, I'm working on a PhD curriculum in addictive disorders and recovery studies right now, which is exciting.
Yeah.
There's not one in the country, so we will have the first one, I hope.
So people who are now looking forward to a PhD program and wanting to focus on addictions and recovery should contact Texas Tech?
Texas Tech, yeah. I hope, if all goes well through the administrative channels, I hope we'll have it ready by the fall of 14. So that'd be good. The other thing I'm doing that I'm really excited about is I've taken a new appointment, which is one of the reasons I gave up my Associate Dean's position. And as a senior faculty in research, in order to put together an institute to study recovery science.
Oh, great.
And so we're going to be doing a lot of grant writing and work to begin to look at what is it that really helps people get in recovery and stay in recovery. With the stay being one of the big focuses. I think we've looked at recovery so much from a short-term standpoint. Let's get them into treatment, get them into recovery.
Past the immediate crisis.
Exactly. And I think what we haven't done a good job of is what really makes up the maintenance of long-term, lifetime sobriety and recovery from an addictive disorder. And so we're gonna do some neuroscience work with that, and we're gonna do some program evaluation work with that, and try to be able to answer some of the questions that really have not been looked at. Addiction has been studied a lot. Recovery has been studied very little.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm excited about that. It's kind of a new chapter, a new focus from what I have been doing.
Okay. Well, I know one of the things that I took from reading your book is your emphasis on a different model of recovery. And so I'd love just to have you talk with me a little bit about the genesis of that model and then tell me a little bit about the model.
All right. Thanks for reading the book, and thanks for noticing that was an important part of it. Throughout all of I've been working in the addiction field for about 30 years, and over and over and over, we've always heard references to the pain that people experience. And so I don't consider that totally an original thought at all. These days, I think nothing's particularly original thought when you read as much and go to as many conferences as we all do. But the idea that what addiction really reflected was a symptom of pain that we experienced in our life. And the model looks at those different types of pain and looks at the different behaviors that we use to try to feel normal in that pain, and then some of the negative consequences that occur from that, and then the real sense of shame we feel about what our behaviors and what our consequences are. The exciting part for me of the model, the new piece that I will lay some originality on, is the idea of the recovery part of that. So if we look at what's really happening to people, that there is this pain in their lives, instead of finding a compulsive behavior to deal with it, what if we found a coping skill to deal with it.
Because I really agree with the pain does not go away.
It does not go away.
It may change.
That's right.
The nature of pain changes, but there's no pain-free life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that was part of what really excited me about this model, is that there's no way to live that kind of life, you know, whether it's physical pain, emotional pain, social, spiritual, any of those. You're gonna, at any time in your life, you're gonna have some parts of that working. So the recovery model that I think is exciting is based on changing out those compulsive behaviors for coping behaviors. And what you hope that does is allow you to build up some esteem, that you feel like, you know, I can handle this, I can do this, I can work with this. Which then leads to positive consequences in your life. You know, my family life's better, my job's better, my mental health is better, which builds. Then I think the key piece to recovery is resiliency. I mean, if I were to look at what recovery really is about, and from my perspective, and I think that is fairly well portrayed in the book, it is about resiliency. What have I put into myself that's going to allow me the skills necessary to bounce back? Because I'm going to get knocked down.
Yeah, it's just going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Scripture promises that.
It does promise that.
In this world you will have trouble. I don't know why I don't hear more sermons that emphasize that reality about living.
Absolutely. And that's why I think recovery is such a spiritual experience, as the 12-step programs portray, because we are promised that it's not going to be easy. And what we have to look at in recovery in terms of our survival is, what do I have to fall back on? I have my faith. I have some of the skills I've learned. I have my relationships with people that are, you know, supportive. And so I think when you look at addiction from that kind of model, what you find is hope. What you find is sustainability. That I can sustain this recovery if I have these skills. And what you also find is not a sugar-coated look at life. You know, it's the reality of that life is hard, you know. The old, you know, bad things happen to good people. You know, the old sense no one really escapes the pain of loss or death or disease or whatever. And the recovery model allows us the coping behaviors to stay in the world.
I really like that emphasis on resiliency. I totally am with you on that. It reminded me of some earlier research that I began hearing about. Not every child that grows up in an alcoholic home becomes an alcoholic.
That is correct.
And one of the distinguishing factors is that those who don't are more resilient than those who do.
That is right.
And
absolutely.
So it's like, oh, well, that's like the duh factor.
Yeah.
If that's what they possess that keeps them out of addictions when it's been modeled, isn't that the missing piece for those who get into addictions?
You are absolutely right. And that's a great way to look at it. That's a great way to bridge that. And some of the research that we've done on prevention shows that same thing. That so many kids that are put in positions where you would think their lives would be completely destroyed, and they ask them, how did you come out of that? How did you live that way? And they begin telling stories of really resilience.
And often that has to do with a relationship.
Absolutely.
Someone who is modeling a different way, who saw something different about them, who called forth the image of God. And gave them tools then to nurture that.
Oh, that is so true. I used to teach a class on prevention, and the one thing I told them, if you walk out of here and you don't remember anything else, which is fine, that happens in class, don't forget this, is that the single most important factor we have found in all of the prevention literature is the connection with one other person other than a family member that shows some interest in your worth and your competence. And that seems to be one of the most important factors, not only in prevention, but also in resiliency. And that's why AA sponsors, 12-step sponsors, counselors, youth ministers are my favorite. I've seen so many youth ministers work miracles in children's lives. So if you can find that one other person that kind of believes in you, that cares about you, it goes a long way.